Good morning, Nicholas. I have a few questions I wanted to ask you.
I grew up in South Florida. I started writing after my daughter's death, and I wrote the first book because I was kind of pissed off at the medical industry, so I said, write a technical book. And I was going to write a technical book because I worked for IBM for quite a bit, been in the IT industry. So I said, we should be able to change the medical industry if we use our technology. So like I said, I was going to write a technical book, and I said, nobody's going to buy a technical book. So then they said, I'll write an action thriller. And so the medical project came out. And it's an action thriller, and that started me off in writing. And then I wrote 4 other books. Well, the first book, The Medical Project, had a couple of stars in it. And I was told by the publisher, hey, you ought to write another book, a sequel to that. What's the next thing? And so I wrote another book with the same characters called The Leadership Program. And then in between that, my son has a terrible illness called schizophrenia. And he saw something behind his house. I don't know if you know anything about schizophrenia, but his doctor had retired or something, and he wasn't on his meds that he has to be on. And so when he saw something behind the house, he thought it was some device that was going to hurt him. And he calls the police and he said, there's a thing behind my house, and I think it's a bomb or something. So I got a call at 2 o'clock in the morning because I was, he was living in a different house, different city. They said, we got the worst news for you. We have your house surrounded and your son won't come out. I said, well, he sent me an email that said there was something behind his house, so I'm sure he's concerned about that. And he wouldn't come out, so they tear gassed the whole house, dragged him out of the house, and he had to go before a judge. And the judge said, you know what? Because he went through his whole life. He went through, his whole life from when he first got ill. He was 19 till now. And the judge said, you understand that illness better than anybody. And I said, you know what? And he told me that. I said, let's write a book together. You write it from the standpoint of someone that has schizophrenia, and I'll write it from the standpoint of how it affects the family. Because anybody that has any mental illness in the family, it affects the whole family. Right? And so we wrote, the self-help and mental health, tough after wellness. And we wrote it together, and that seems to be a very popular book. Very good. Because everybody has someone in their family that has some illness of some type like that. I try to, because I love to eat. So in order to eat as much as I like, I have to run, and I'm a member of this Hollywood Runners Club, so I run with a bunch of young people, and then I also run on my own and exercise on my own. So I do a lot of exercising, and then I'll sit down at my computer and just start writing, something that comes to mind, and that's how I got the 4 books published, because there's always something that I think, needs improving in the world, whether it's the medical industry, whether it's how we handle schizophrenia, or whether, and the other books are really problems that occur that need solving. And of course, these 2 people that were in the first book, right, are solving those problems. Yeah, I hope that readers, when the right people read the book, that all readers can see a plot and a problem and then how that problem goes. I'm an aerospace engineer, so engineers are always trying to figure out how do they solve problems. And so that's in every one of the book. There's a problem, and you're trying to figure out how do you solve that problem.
Right.
And so, it's really trying to make, in my mind, that you want to make the world a better place.
Right.
You don't want to have someone like in my first book where my daughter died because the medical industry was really could have been a little bit better.
Right.
I remember asking the doctors. I said, "Listen, I can afford to send my daughter any place. Where should she go? Who are the best doctors?" And they said, "Well, we're the best doctors. We can do it." And they did the best they could, but they were not the best doctors and did the best procedures and things like that. And I wish they had that at their fingertips.
Yes.
So that's how I got the first book written, and it's solving problems that we have today. And I hope people read the books, and I hope they associate with people I talk to. They say, I know your characters. So they know the characters and how they fit throughout all the books. And so they really enjoy that part of it. I would cast, there's two main characters. One is a guy named John, and he's married to a lady named Kate. And they're both, they're married and they're working for the government. John should be Harrison Ford, and Kate should be Sandra Bullock.
Very good actor. Very good.
Yeah. And, so I think, in fact, there's a screenplay on the first book and the third book.
Right.
So it's there for somebody. I mean, there's screenplays on both those books. We just need to get Harrison Ford and Sandra Bullock to fill those roles, and we'll be set.
Well, Nicholas, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.